Way of the Drunken Master, the Boozy Brawler, the Wasted Warrior, the Stumbling Soldier, my beloved, the Goofy Punchy Boy. This is probably my favorite idea for a monk subclass. I loved watching both Jackie Chan Drunken Master movies. They're so fun, energetic, and silly. A Drunken Master monk fights like a wasted yet graceful tornado of punches and kicks. Their erratic movements look like a man about to fall over, but in reality, it's all a feint, stumbling and dancing around the battlefield until they stand victorious. Fighting one is like trying to fight a sentient piece of spaghetti. How could you not want to fight like this guy? Look at this! But what's this whole drunken part of Drunken Master? What's that about? If you do drink, you know you can get a little bit more confident when you're drunk, a little bit more rowdy, a little bit more loosey-goosey. The sober version of you might not think you're that strong, but after a few Bud Lattes, you're probably thinking otherwise.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over them mountains?
Now, I may be a skeleton, but I have cracked a few cold ones with the boys. And if you're wondering how a skeleton drinks booze, don't think about it. I feel very educated on this subject, and I think I am more than qualified to make the Drunken Master monk even better. And by qualified, I mean inebriated. Now, what's cool about the Drunken Master subclass is that it's based off a real-life martial art. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing this. Zui Chuan, or Drunken Fist, or Drunken Boxing, is a martial art that is all about mimicking the movements of a drunk person. They are sober, but they move around like an off-balance drunk person to confuse their opponent. They use erratic movements to strike their foes and dance around in an odd and almost taunting manner that makes them really hard to hit. The origins of this style aren't clear, but one story goes during the Song Dynasty, there was this guy named Liu Qizan. If I get these names wrong, I'm really sorry. I'm just trying my best, man. This guy came to the Shaolin Temple and got super drunk. Because he took a monastic vow, which included sobriety, the monks didn't like that. There were also other factors as to why they might not have liked him, like murder and avoiding trial for murder. But that's not important, so they tried to kick him out. That did not work out well for our monks. Our boy Li Qizan beat over 30 Shaolin monks. The abbot of the temple saw that and was like, nice moves. So the next morning, they all worked together to try and replicate Li Qizan's style of drunken fighting, and thus, the Drunken Fist was born. Or at least that's how one of the stories go. And of course, I can't talk about the culture of drunken boxing without mentioning Jackie Chan's Drunken Master movies. Seriously, they are awesome. Every video on YouTube that explains the Drunken Fist references those movies. You know how impactful those movies were? They named the subclass in 5e after those movies. They could have named it Way of the Drunken Fist or Way of Drunken Boxing to be more accurate, and honestly, those names sound better, but they went with Way of the Drunken Master. There is so much history and culture behind drunken boxing. I don't even have time to mention the drunken tale of the 8 Immortals. But just like my homebrew D&D world, the amount of lore to throw at a person is kind of a lot. If only there was an easy tool to make information organized and easily accessible.
Well, with today's sponsor, World Anvil, you can do just that. Are you still using boring white text documents for your world building and sharing those with your players? They don't want to read something like this. Heck, you don't even want to read something like this. If you did, you would have noticed this is just the B-movie script. World Anvil gives you the tools to make the lore for your setting fun and interesting to search through. It's like a Wikipedia page specifically tailored for your D&D game. I know you put a lot of time into that map you made. With the tools on World Anvil, you can make that map interactive. I know you got some crazy creation myth for your game and some massive battles with giant explosions that shook the universe to its core, so why not make it easy to follow with the custom timeline feature? It has tools for making player character sheets for D&D 5e and over 45 other systems, along with tools for monster stat blocks, faction webs, family trees, and so much more. If you use coupon code BONEWIZARD at checkout, you get a 51% discount off any yearly subscription. If you want to make building your world easy and fun for your players, check out worldanvil.com. Click on the link in the description, use my coupon code, and start making your world today. Thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video!
So what does a drunken monk do in D&D 5th edition? With Drunken Technique, when you use your Flurry of Blows, you gain an extra 10 feet of movement speed and gain the benefit of the disengage action. So you can slap a dude twice and you stumble backwards in such a weird way that they can't even hit you. And the whole subclass is sort of built to be like this hit and run type playstyle, except for one ability that kinda sticks out: redirect attack. When a creature attacks you and misses, you can spend a key to have that attack land on another creature within 5 feet of you. That is some Three Stooges levels of of shenanigans that I can get behind. A dragon can try and swallow you whole, but instead you cha-cha slide out of the way and booty bump some poor kobold into its jaws. It's beautiful!
Also, there are people saying redirect attack and deflect attack are the same. They are not. Read the abilities.
Unfortunately, the whole subclass is built to not be around the enemy. It's hard to be near two enemies when you keep running away from them. And even if one bad guy does manage to run up to you and miss you with an attack, you still need two enemies near you at the same time to make redirect attack work. These abilities are just at odds with one another, which is unfortunate because redirect attack is probably one of the most fun abilities I have ever seen. But Drunken Monk is built for this hit and run playstyle. A playstyle some can find samey and boring, myself included. Run up to a bad guy, hit, run away, repeat. Run up to a bad guy, hit, run away, repeat. It can get monotonous. The subclass's tools encourage you to never be in the thick of fighting a bunch of enemies at once, which is contradictory to how Jackie Chan fights in the Drunken Master movies. I mean, look at him, he's fighting an entire county of thugs. So redirect attack is really circumstantial. Speaking of circumstantial, Intoxicated Frenzy. It's Drunken Monk's 17th level ability. It lets you make 3 additional attacks with your flurry of blows. So that's 5 attacks, as long as each of those attacks are against a different creature. That sounds awesome though. All you need is 5 enemies in a combat who are all within range of your movement to make the most of it. Because that happens so often, right? We always have an entire county of thugs to punch, right? Sure would stink if the DM only threw 1 or 3 guys at you this combat,
Or had the enemies so spread out your walking speed can't get to them in one turn.
then this feature wouldn't do too much, would it? But when you do get 5 guys to punch, it's so much damage, right? Damaging a bunch of people on your turn. You mean like an area of effect spell would? Like Fireball? A spell you can get at level 5? What's the area of effect on that?
And how much damage on average does it deal to an individual creature in the area?
And how much damage does a single punch deal with a 2024 monk? Woof! A good casting of the first level spell Burning Hands could do as much damage. Some level 17 feature this is. Yes, this ability can allow you to attack 5 different creatures in one turn, but keep in mind, attacking more creatures isn't necessarily good. It's generally better to focus damage on one guy till he kicks the bucket, because the only hit point that matters is the last one he has. Slap as many people as you want, unless you knock their lights out, they will slap you back.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But okay, the real reason to use Intoxicated Frenzy is to stun even more people with stunning strikes. So you can attempt to stun up to 7 creatures in one turn. Ugh. I feel like doubling down on one of the most contentious class features in D&D is not a great idea. You can't do that super multi-stun with my buffed monk or the 2024 monk because we both limited the amount of stunning strikes you can do in one turn. And thank God, anyone who endorses the 2014 stunning strike should be thrown into the gulag. But the biggest sin of this subclass is that it has nothing to do with drinking. No drinking or booze for the Drunken Master subclass. You get Brewer's Tool proficiencies, but that's it. And the Brewer's Tools don't really let you do anything worth mentioning in this video. If this is supposed to fulfill the fantasy of being a drunken martial arts master, I really think alcohol should be involved in some way. But WotC was just like, nah, let's just ignore the history, the culture, the name, and the most interesting part of this subclass. All I want is a single feature that lets you make booze that gives buffs to you and your friends. And then the rest of the subclass can be about martial arts. And look, I know a lot of people want this subclass to not have any involvement with alcohol in any capacity. That's not a sentiment I agree with. I understand real life drunken boxing doesn't need alcohol, but I'd really rather be Wong Fei Hung in my game of fantasy than realistic. So for the people who want a sober drunken master, the subclass I wrote for this video is very easy to reflavor as someone who doesn't drink, alright? Right, now that I've calmed down all the sober drunken fist purists out there, let's make a monk who can fucking turn up. Level 3. Just so you know, I am using my buffed monk as our base for this subclass, so if you're confused as to what I'm referring to, like deflect attack deflecting multiple attacks, you can watch this video on how you should buff monk to know what I'm talking about. It will clear a lot of things up. Okay, first mechanical change for this subclass is we give them a feature to make special drinks that enhance their abilities. This feature is called Good Brews. During a short or long rest, you can make a number of good brews equal to your wisdom modifier. Using a bonus action to drink a good brew gives the drinker a special effect. Now look, drinking alcohol does not give you superpowers. superpowers. In fact, it makes you worse at pretty much everything. It gives you all the skill and grace of a 6-foot-tall baby. But it does make you feel stronger, and I have based these brews off these feelings. Hearty Stout gives you temp HP equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die plus your wisdom modifier. The alcohol in the Hearty Stout numbs the pain from all the bumps and cuts you receive.
You think you can hurt me? I'm running on whiskey and White Claw, baby.
Next, we have Strong Squirrel Sour. It gives advantage on strength checks for 1 hour. Booze just activates the caveman part of your brain.
Me lift heavy thing, me lift keg.
I named this one after this brewery I like, Mighty Squirrel. It's a cool brewery, so if you're in the Boston area, check it out. Bottle of Spider's Brandy gives you advantage to saves against being frightened for 1 hour. It's called Liquid Courage for a reason. It gives you the bravery to do things you normally wouldn't. Or shouldn't. Dwarven Brown Ale gives advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance against poison damage for 1 hour. I like to think dwarves have really strong booze that other species can't stomach, so they made this ale specifically for their friends who are other species. So their human and tabaxi pals drink this first so the dwarf can share with them all their favorite hometown drinks. As you level up, you get access to even stronger brews. At level 6, you get Fireball, which gives you resistance to cold damage for 1 hour. There's this concept called an alcohol blanket. Basically, you drink so much that the cold doesn't bother you because the booze makes you feel warmer. Now in reality, it doesn't actually make you warmer. If you use booze instead of a winter jacket, you'll likely get hypothermia. But in our fantasy world, and only our fantasy world, the Fireball drink can make you warm enough to resist even frigid ice magic. You're like that shorts kid from your school who wore shorts all year round despite the fact there's a blizzard outside. We salute all shorts kids out there. Minty McGillicuddy Schnapps gives you resistance to fire damage for 1 hour. Dude, menthol mint is crazy to me. It always feels cold in your mouth, even at room temperature. I just think that's really neat. At level 11, you get Jello Shot, which gives you +1 AC for 1 hour. I imagine you get this AC increase not because you're more durable, but just from being more wiggly, like Jello. The hardest dessert to fight, by the way. At level 17, you get the 1000 proof tincture. After you drink it, you can ignore the first instance of damage before it wears off. Keep in mind, you can't choose when to use this. It's just your first instance of damage after drinking this. The damage you negate could be from getting stomped on by Godzilla or a paper cut. Either way, once you take any damage, you negate it and the effect ends. It's like the buffer card from Slay the Spire. What I like most about these brews is that you can share them with your teammates. Any creature can drink them and benefit from them. Yes, I put a mechanical reason in Dungeons & Dragons to crack a cold one with the boys. Nice crack. And now you have an actual reason to use brewing supplies instead of just making potable water. Oh, for goodness sakes, Watsy, why did you even print those rules, dude? Plus, if you're a drunken monk, there's a high chance your character will want booze, and it's not like there's a liquor store in the middle of the Arctic Circle, or a jungle, or hell. And the format I made for these brews is stupid easy. You can easily add more types of good brews. These are just the ones that felt the most befitting of drunk superpowers, if that makes sense. If you think of any really good ones, leave a comment, and if it's good, I'll give it a heart and add it to the Google Doc for this subclass. Okay, so that fixes their drinking problem. Now let's talk about their kung fu. Their original level 3 ability, Drunken technique, just really doesn't fit with how I see a drunken master monk fighting. The feature is about punching someone and literally running away. That's not how I envision a kung fu action hero fighting. That's not how I envision a real-life drunken boxer fighting. Run up to someone, slap them, and then run away. What is this, tag? We want a brawling noodle that is super difficult to fight. Someone whose stance and moves are almost taunting you, and when you take the bait, wham! And I really can't think of a single better way to embody this fighting style more than redirect attack. I really think this is one of the coolest monk abilities, and they just didn't do anything with it. It's so fun and full of potential. So, it. I'm moving Drunken technique to a later level, and I'm building the rest of this subclass around redirect attack. You get redirect attack at level 3, but that doesn't fix the ability being situational, so how do we fix that? In the original text for this feature, you can redirect the attack to anyone within 5 feet of you except the attacker. We change it so you can also redirect that attack back at the attacker. Someone swings a sword at you, and you can just send it right back at him. I just love the image of an orc swinging their battle axe at you, and you just send their own axe right into their foot. Or if a dragon tries to bite you, you push their jaw out of line so they clamp down on their own tongue. Some may say this conflicts with deflect attack. That's not quite the case here, actually. You use deflect attack when you get hit with an attack, and you use redirect attack when an attack misses you. Simple. So yes, you could send that Horned Devil's Tail attack back at him, or you could send that attack to some cultist 10 feet behind the devil. It hits the cultist, he takes damage, and he has to make a Constitution saving throw because the Horned Devil's Tail inflicts infernal wounds that cause a creature to lose like 10 HP at the start of each of their turns. Not only is your range with redirect attack the range of the incoming attack, but it also applies the special effects from the attack. Use an Uno reverse card to force a Dow to eat their own hammer and knock them prone. And since we want this ability to scale and multi-attack exists, we will do what we did for our buffed monk's deflect attack. At level 8, after using this reaction, you can enter a redirection stance until the start of your next turn. While in this stance, you can spend another key to redirect one attack as a free action, ending the stance. You cannot use your deflect attack feature while in this stance. At level 13, your redirection stance does not end early until you have redirected 3 attacks. You spend 1 key for each of the redirected attacks. But since enemy attack damage can be, very large, we are going to put a damage cap on how much damage you can do with this ability. The damage of a single redirected attack can't exceed 4 times your proficiency bonus. That is unless they attack you and miss with a crit fail. Then there's no damage cap for redirect attack. Look, if a dragon rolls a nat 1 on its bite, you are within your right to feed him its own tail and make it Ouroboros itself. But in general, crit miss or not, the redirected attack, even with that cap, is still going to be stronger than one of your deflect attack punchbacks, depending on what you're fighting. Also, we're keeping their bonus proficiency feature they get at level 3. It gives you proficiency in brewing supplies and the performance skill. And you need that performance. You gotta style on those guys while you fight. The only thing we're adding is you have advantage to convince creatures you are a feeble, helpless, clumsy, drunken fool, because the best moment for a drunken boxer is having them underestimate you and then they find out.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
We're going to give them one last feature at level 3 that you may or may not need depending on your DM's interpretation. So at level 10, both Vanilla Monk and my buffed monk become immune to poison. This begs the question, if you are immune to poison damage and the poison condition, can you get drunk? Does a drunken monk lose their ability to get drunk at level 10? There are no official rules for being drunk in 5e, and a lot of people just use the poison condition for being drunk, including Jeremy Crawford back in the day. A paladin can use lay on hands to neutralize poison, so can a paladin make someone instantly sober? The Doritos Nacho Cheese Spirit my friend forced me to try, fuck you Dan, tastes like an old sock mixed with cheese and regret. It made me wish for death, so if my D&D character drinks it, would they start instantly making death saves? These things hinge on one question. Is alcohol a poison? I am not an expert on this, so I asked my friend, who just so happens to have a PhD in chemical engineering, and his answer was, kind of. Then I asked him, would he consider alcohol a poison in D&D, and he said it would have a mild poisonous effect. That is good enough for me, so yeah, alcohol is poison in D&D. I'm sure a bunch of cool DMs would allow the poison-proof monk to get shwasted, but just in case, here is a feature that lets you ignore any type of poison immunity or resistance for the purposes of getting drunk. Look, alcohol might be considered poison, but it's shotgun o'clock somewhere.
And if you're enjoying this video, I'm assuming you are if you're 17 minutes in, consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment. I respond to those. And if you want to go above and beyond, consider joining my Patreon, where I have a bunch of playtest material. Because the new Artificer is coming out, and I'm pretty sure I can't sell things with the Artificer label on it, I'm gonna be buffing Artificer, and those are gonna be free to the public. So all you need to do is join as a free member for Patreon to see those. I'm not sure when I'm making those Artificer buffs available, but sooner rather than later. So anything you do from Patreon, liking, subscribing, and commenting, it all just helps me pay rent, so thank you.
Level 6. Okay, our Drunken Master can chug beer and make people eat their own hammers. Awesome. But to use redirect attack, the creature needs to miss you first. Fortunately, Drunken Masters are so hard to fight because their movements are so weird. Is that stumble for real, or is it bait? Is he trying to get me to attack, or does he want me to wait? When during his Fortnite dance is he going to strike me? They basically turned gaslighting into a fighting style. So to represent that and increase how often they can redirect attacks, we will give them something that boosts their AC. Adding on to their Tipsy Sway feature, we will give them Drunken Immortal. If you spend a key point on your turn, you can spend an additional key point to raise your AC by 2 until the beginning of your next turn. You can use this ability once per turn, and that AC increase scales as you level up. So you could use Flurry of Blows to feed a guy your fists and then spend 1 key to raise your AC. So when that guy tries to punch you, you have a better chance to send that punch right back at him. Wonder what's for dessert? It's another fist, oh boy! Or you could use Patient Defense to bonus action dodge and be even more unhittable. I don't think most people envisioned Patient Defense as a man breakdancing on the battlefield, but with Drunk Monk, I can't picture it any other way. And it's at this level we're going to reintroduce Drunken Technique. But Why? Earlier I even said Drunken technique was at odds with redirect attack. If I'm making this guy to be a reflecting damage tank, why give them this at all? Because maybe these abilities were not as anti-synergistic as I originally thought. At a certain point with the AC increase and making people eat their own fists, eventually you're gonna run into a swarm of enemies. The call to feed people their own hands is far too great to resist. Or a worse situation happens, there will be an enemy who you don't force to eat their fists, but quite the opposite. Eventually, you're gonna get overwhelmed, and Drunken technique is your eject button. Flurry of blows and then get the heck out of there. So we are making this part of their tipsy sway feature. Oh, and we are keeping leap to your feet. Cause yeah, in Kung Fu movies, they do kip ups. So here is your kip up ability. Last thing we are going to add to level 6 is Trashed Talker. Drunken Monk never really got any decent out of combat abilities. Every subclass, especially non-casting subclasses, should get at least one out of combat feature. What Trashed Talker allows you to do is add a martial arts die onto a charisma check. You can use it once per long rest for free, and after that, it costs 1 key to use. Now, monks don't have many stat points to spare for charisma. It's one of their dump stats usually. Most monks are stupid and don't know how to talk to people. I can relate to that. In any case, why give them something to make them smooth talkers? A very simple reason. If when your drunk monk gets drunk, it's a fair chance to say you're going to roleplay them being drunk. And when booze goes in, filter comes off. Perfect example. I was on a third date with a girl. We just came back from the bar. We're both a little drunk, we're having fun. She seems into me. She's in my bedroom. Oh yeah, you know what happens next. That's right. I explained the entire plot line of the manga Berserk to her. For like an hour. I might have teared up a little bit because I just want Guts and Casca to be happy. Trashed Talker is for those people who roleplayed themselves into a similar situation. There are roles certain classes have in D&D, like the Bard should talk and the Barbarian should tank, but sometimes those roles get reversed. It happens. And it will probably happen a lot if you have a PC who is constantly drunk and the player leans into that. This ability is basically insurance that covers drunk stupidity. How often have you said something in character and the DM asks you to make a persuasion check, only for you to look to the sorcerer and say, please help me, I have a -1 to persuasion checks. So maybe the king asks you to find out who kidnapped the princess, and the drunk monk just blurts out, oh, that was me, I kidnapped the fuck out of her. The king and the party didn't like that, so the drunk monk explains that he did it to protect her from even worse kidnappers. With Trashed Talker, that terrible lie becomes a little bit more believable. And sometimes drunks just say the most baffling things, and it works. Like that girl I told you about earlier, we've been dating for 4 years. We live together now. It doesn't make sense. She's a doctor, and I'm a pretty low-tier YouTuber who's not making a lot of money from this, but it worked. Somehow. Level 11 gives you Drunkard's Luck, which lets you cancel out disadvantage on a roll if you spend 2 ki. Honestly, I love this. This is super helpful. To boost this up a bit, we're just gonna give them 1 free use of this ability per long rest. Other than that, yeah, it's a cool ability. Great for when you tell the king all about your cool kidnappings. Level 17. Okay, for level 17, we gotta dump Intoxicated Frenzy. It's a level 17 ability that's putting up the same damage numbers as a level 1 wizard. It's vestigial at this point. It's getting the boot. So, what do we replace it with? We will give them Sloshed Stance. So with my buffed monk, you can enter a stance with Deflect Attack. This drunken monk can enter Redirection Stance, but those two don't mingle. If you use one, you can't use the other until your next turn. But with Slosh Stance, you can use both at the same time. If you spend 2 extra ki when you are attacked, you can enter Slosh Stance, which allows you to deflect attacks when you are hit and redirect attacks when those attacks miss you. You can enter this stance at any point. It doesn't need to be on that first attack you deflect or redirect. It could be on the second or third attack if you want. We got one more feature for level 17. We give them Hammered Hero. Your good brews that last 1 hour now lasts 8 hours for when our drunk monk drinks them. When you drink your hearty stout, roll 3 martial arts die instead of 1. When you are under the effect of one of your good brews or any other alcohol, you gain the following benefits. Critical hits against you become normal hits, creatures struck by a redirect attack have their speed drop to 0 until the end of your next turn, and your Trash Talker ability costs 0 ki. By level 17, our drunk monk is great at stumbling through fights and toughing out hits. Combined with the loosening and numbing effects of alcohol, they are the toughest and most dangerous spaghetti noodle the world has ever seen. They are at their most dangerous while drunk, just like the ideal fantastical drunken master warrior should be. He's all about cracking beers, cracking skulls, and being the best pasta there ever was.
Shoutouts to the patrons: Beefmaster, Nolan46, Panko6, Hayden Tisthammer, Manifestring, Sparkdrake, Blackblooded Beast, Cubico, Captain Halcyonics, Neferwraith, Trevin Zarmas, NG5, Terius, Timberwolf J, Hayden Wilmot, Christopher Cook, Zachaloo, Xander Threed, Fusro Dog, Hoggers Extreme, James Spear, Seth Nyaw, Mr. Nobody 13, Alex Score, Alex Dorf, Wet Toaster, Naima Maori, Ed Boy, Pat Hughes, Iskander711, Anymoose, Dice Monkey, Mullock, Spartus Maximus 1, Seductive Squidward, King Storm, Polymolly 01, Ninja, and Inkblot. Thank you guys so much, you're all the best.